So on your Blackboard, you want to make sure to read through each of the folders that are on the left-hand side. The syllabus, in your syllabus, how you're going to be graded is 15% is homework, 25% will be Sullivan Realty, and this is going to be done in QuickBooks. It's a major company that brings together the first 5 chapters, but we'll be doing it in QuickBooks. 25% will be the corner dress shop, and that's be done at the end. And then we have 35% will be 5 workshops that you're going to do in QuickBooks after various chapters. Okay. On those workshops, I don't accept them late because you're going to have plenty of time to do them. You'll have some time in class to do them also. Okay. You will have to on QuickBooks, unless you have QuickBooks 12 at home, you will have to do them here or in the lab in D211. Okay. And if you're on the QuickBook ones, you'll have to do them up here.
Will it run on the updated version?
It's QuickBooks 12. I think they have 14.
I run 14.
It should probably do about the same. I mean, it should work about the same. I'm going to go to 14 in the fall. I had planned to go to it in the spring, but we have our license. It goes good till fall, so I didn't want to spend that expense. So, and it's just not that much difference between the different versions.
All right, so should we go ahead and get 14 if available?
I use it through my firm.
I wouldn't go to the expense like he was just explaining. He has a company, and so that's why it wasn't that big a deal. But what was the cost of it? Do you remember?
It was like $600.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive.
That wasn't even the program.
Now, if you took the accounting 1311, which is a QuickBooks course, it includes the software with it, just a trial version type thing, but it's not worth going and buying it actually for what you'll be doing. Like I said, most of the time we'll finish things in class, but some of the times if I don't since we only meet once a week, but we are meeting 3 hours, so I should be able to cover a lot and you'd be able to get started on some things. Last semester I did go ahead and record all the chapters and also the ones for, like this is a workshop. Mars is a workshop. What else have I got here? Sanchez, that's exercise. Service company, this is the largest one that I have screenshots and audio for it. So everything else I recorded except I didn't do the first 2 because I was getting used to using the recording system. So you should be able to go, in case you have to be absent, you'll be able to stay up to date with what I have here. Whenever you want to send me a message, be sure to use the message feature. Therefore, I keep everything within the class, and at the end of the semester, I have to archive the class, and then if there's any questions, then I have everything right together instead of emailing me. I want it through the message system. Course contracts, be sure to read these over. And then at the end, you just send me a message just stating I adhere to the course contracts. Okay, so be sure to send that to me before our next class period. I did make a change on the assignment schedule, so if you printed it out, I did make a change for the first assignment, just the first assignment. You are going to read just certain pages in Chapter 1, like was stated before, but I want you to read 2 and 3 chapters, all of 2 and 3. Before our next class period. But if you already printed it out, that's the only change that I made was the first one. So
we can go back in.
you can go back in. I did that this morning, but it's just the few pages that were in Chapter 1 that deals with financial statements, and then Chapter 2 and 3. Are there any questions about Blackboard? If we look at my accounting, you see where it says assignments. And so my intentions are to go through the exercises in Sanchez with you, and then you have homework that will be due for every chapter but chapter 1. Because what's in chapter 1 is going to be incorporated in every chapter we pretty much have. It's the financial statements, the trial balance, the income statement, statement of owner's equity, and the balance sheet. So the homework one is the one that you will be graded on. This Sanchez is a continuous problem that started in chapter 1 and continues through all of the chapters. So you'll see it continually build on each other. So again, I'll do the exercises in Sanchez with you, and then the homework you'll be responsible for having due by the due date. Okay. There's a study plan that goes with the book, and where you can practice different things, so you can go through if you want to. You have the Pearson e-text, so it is your textbook that's here in case you need to check on something while you're in. If you're away from, you don't have your textbook, then you will be able to go ahead and go in and look at your e-book. This is an interesting one. Here is a multimedia library. You can put up here what chapter that you want. For example, I'm going to put in chapter 2, and I want all the learning objectives, and then I can check off animation, I can check off study guide, I can check whatever I want, and only what's available is going to download. Don't worry about the computer workshops. I'll hand all that out, or the end of chapter data files. Don't worry about all that. Videos, and then I'm going to do Find Now. And then this gives me all that it has, and so you can go through, and this is reinforcement for you for these chapters. So you've got a lot of opportunity. We're going to go through and look at the textbook in just a few minutes, but you have a lot of opportunities to learn things. This breaks it down into chapters, so you can go into what homework, chapter homework, and multimedia library if you want to go this way, or you can just go through multimedia library. Let's look at the textbook for a moment to see how it is arranged. We're going to go to chapter 2. The thing about accounting, and a lot of people always hear it every semester. I've been teaching accounting for 40 years, so I know what you're going to, the first class period, after I get through with the first lecture, you're going to be overwhelmed because there's nothing that you can relate it to, because it's nothing that you've ever had before, unless you've had bookkeeping. Some of you have had bookkeeping somewhere, high school perhaps, or anywhere? Long time ago, okay. First thing you have to do is throw out anything you think about banking, because the bookkeeping is totally different than banking. What a debit and credit means in banking has nothing to do what it is in the bookkeeping. So don't overthink it. Just do what I ask you to do. Don't go out and drop the course after the first class period, because I tell you, it will seem sort of overwhelming to you. But if you'll just stay with me, we'll do it a little piece at a time, and it starts making sense, and we build it, and you'll be fine at the end of the semester if you just do the work that I ask you to do. In the chapter, on page 40, they introduce some information on 40 and 41. And this is the key. That's why I start with chapter 2. It's too overwhelming, more overwhelming to start with chapter 1, and they start talking about financial statements, and you don't even understand what the accounting equation is and how it all works together. They just start throwing the financial statements. So I just kind of go back and do that as I go through chapters 2 and 3. We pick up the financial statements. But the T accounts that are on page 40 and the rules that are on page 43 in categories, if you don't ever understand how to categorize an account and how to increase or decrease the balance of an account, then you're not going to do well in the class, because that is the essential. You have to know those things. I'm going to be drilling you over those, okay? I've got 3 drills that I'm going to be giving you. So next week I'm going to give you, 1 or 2 drills, and the next week another drill on debits and credits to make sure that you start understanding them. On page 45, at the bottom of page 41, you'll see they've introduced a little part, and then they have a chapter review. So they give you something so that you can see if you understand what you've done in those 2 pages. And then when you go over to 43, they have another play-by-play to give you extra help on the self-help, and they give you the solutions immediately, so you get immediate feedback on it. Then they go to, on page, let's see, on page 44, something else that's going to be very important to you is the bottom of page 44. This is transaction analysis, and I'm going to give you a handout that's going to have the accounting equation, going to have some of the accounts and their categories, and I'm going to have this, what I call the 5-step mind process. And we're going to be going over that 5 steps. Every time we look at a transaction, we're going through those 5 steps. And every time you have a transaction, if you will go through those 5 steps, they will become automatic to you, and then you won't even have to think about them. But it is good to make yourself go through them. And so the rest of those pages until we get to 51 is going over transactions and how to analyze them and going through those 5 steps. And then on page 51, they give you a replay again with some solutions. Same thing on 52. Then they talk about the trial balance on 55, an instant replay. Then at the end of the chapter, they go over all the documents that they've had, you know, the financial statements. That's why you cover them in 2. There's no need to overwhelm you by doing chapter 1 until we'll build to it. On page 59, they have a demonstration problem. And then we start with, there's a solution to your demonstration problem. Then on page 63, they have a blueprint, again, of the financial statements and showing you where you draw your information from in order to put on that financial statement. And then on page 66, we have, that's concepts. On page 68 is exercises, and I'm going to be going through certain exercises with you. And then the homework problems that on page 7, starting on 70, 71, you'll be doing, that's the homework that I have for you that's in my accounting lab, okay? Exact homework problems that are in here are also on my accounting lab. But we're going to use my accounting lab instead of using all the working sheets that came with your book, that little packet that you had with some, yes, you won't be using those, okay? I try to buy the book without them if they don't, because I just don't use them. We do everything in my accounting lab, because that helps you prepare you to do QuickBooks when you get used to doing it on the computer. And it's basically the same thing that we're doing on the computer, is the same thing you would do handwritten, but you're just doing it on, instead of clicking some things, instead of spending your time writing out the accounts. Okay. So every chapter is laid out like that, and so that makes it pretty simple as far as all the resources that you have available to you.